What's up, San Diego? Welcome into another edition of Gwyn and Chris, minus Chris Ello today, whatever you want to call it. Chris currently getting ready to do the Lady Aztecs down at Viejas Arena.
He could be here doing his job, but he's not. So.
He's doing his other job, which is perfectly fine. None of us are hating on that. Well, I'm not. Clearly,
yes, I am.
Clearly, Mr. Scraby is, but we welcome you in. Again, Tony Gwynn Jr., Matt Scraby, along for a short ride here tonight. Denver Chargers. A lot of people who may have been going to that game last week, a couple weeks ago, may not be going because it was originally not supposed to be on this day.
I've thought about this a lot, and because Chris should be up, instead of calling a basketball game, he should be preparing for his trip to SoFi Stadium on Sunday.
Yeah.
I really do think this is a big punch in the face from the NFL to fans who buy tickets and who travel and who contribute to the ecosystem of the NFL.
It may very well be a punch in the face, but certainly the NFL is willing to test to see how hard this punch actually is. If it's one that they can shake off, trust me, they will shake it off and proceed to move forward. And if they need to flex another game to a different day, they will not hesitate.
No, they won't.
They have proven over time that they are willing to roll the dice on the fans to see if indeed they care that much.
This is a big game tonight, though.
It is. Yes,
AFC
this is
West,
an AFC West matchup.
Both teams heading towards the playoffs. This win would help them get closer to the playoffs.
I don't think anybody thought coming into this season that this would be more than just a one-team playoff division. They got a chance to get 2, maybe 3, depending on how this thing shakes out. But certainly 2 is looking, brighter for them, it seems like, every week. Now, these 2 teams here will have to beat up on one another, so somebody's got to take a fall. The Broncos are 9-5. The Chargers are 8-6. This is, as you said, it's a big matchup.
Chargers are charging a little bit.
I don't know if they're charging. The charging
means finding a way to lose in the fourth quarter.
Finding a way to give the game away.
Yeah,
they just got beat up last week when it came to Tampa. They were
true.
Going back and forth early, and then Tampa hit the gas, and the Chargers couldn't really do much about it.
No, that's true. I think, honestly, it really doesn't matter because Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are already written into the Vince Lombardi trophy. So what does it matter if they get to the playoffs?
Here you go.
Because I was reading earlier that Patrick Mahomes is not listed on the injury report. Why does this guy act like he has the worst injuries that anybody has ever had and then is not listed on the injury report?
I told you yesterday, he said this one isn't as bad as the one he had against the Jags a few years back. And he went on to, the rest. What happened?
He likes the attention. He likes the attention.
So are you saying that he's faking when he's going through those things?
No, I'm not saying that, but it is strange how, he has to be stretchered off the field, and which didn't happen, I know. Which didn't happen, I know.
Things here, guy.
Maria, who is a Chiefs fan, says Mahomes is a quick healer. Yeah, because he's got black magic working for him.
Maybe he does.
Well, that's a whole different level. But I'm not going to go actually that he's a warlock or anything. But
maybe it's not his black magic. Maybe it's somebody else's.
Brittany Mahomes's?
You're
Andy Reid?
No, we're not going down this path. You're right. Go ahead. Finish what you were saying.
It just it is insane to me how often this guy gets hurt and then it's like nothing ever happened.
Now, listen, to be fair, they said he probably could have come back in the game that he got hurt in.
But did he?
He didn't. They got one loss, Scrape.
I know.
They don't. If they didn't need him to come back, why make him come back?
I didn't wake up this morning thinking I was going to start the show with a Patrick Mahomes bashing, but here we are.
But you, so it's,
here we are.
You never know what's going to come out of your mouth.
I don't wake up thinking like this, and apparently I'm the only person on earth who wakes up thinking it's a different day and then realizes it's not.
No, okay. First of all, you got to give this some context, ladies and gentlemen.
My daily gripe.
He said that he doesn't think it's weird that he wakes up during the weekday. When we all kind of are in our robot mode, get up, go to work. He will wake up on let's say a Tuesday or a Wednesday and think it's Saturday.
For like 30 milliseconds.
I don't know that I have had that thought.
So Sam and Frank were in here with me when I did the Daily Gripe, and I was expecting for them to be like, "Yeah, we get this all the time," and they said no, and then Tony said no.
As a matter of fact, it's more often that I don't know what day it is until we get close to the weekend, and it's like, oh wait, today's Friday, huh? Boom.
Your weekend
The
weekend detector
it's
is
just
working.
like the mind and body knows. Oh, we might get to sleep in. Psych. But it's a thought because it's the weekend.
I dream. Oh gosh, we're going in a weird direction when we're talking about my dreams. But I
Well,
dream.
you're
I
going in a
dream
weird
heavily
direction.
and vividly, and so when I wake up, sometimes it takes me a second to realize where I'm at. I didn't realize I was the only one.
Yeah. Well, we'll move on to
Thank you.
some sports here. One of the things that is starting to kind of, I don't know, it feels like we've had a little bit of a standstill here in Major League Baseball in terms of free agent signings. I mean, it was said, right, that once Soto came off the board, we'd have like a flurry of free agent movement. I mean, I know we've had some trades.
Yeah.
But I can't recall having any movement though. Like there hasn't
No.
been a ton of movement, right?
No movement. Not really much of anything. I mean, I think this is going to be the slow time of the year until January 15th when Roki Sasaki's available for signing.
So, okay, that's great. Good for Roki when that does happen. But there's a slew of free agents out there, including Bregman still out there searching
Yes.
for a team. We don't know where he's at. Is it possible that you think free agency is being held up because there are so many rumored names that are available via trade?
Possibly. I guess
You know,
that's
you got
true.
Arenado was available. Bellinger went.
Which, by the way,
finally.
he said he is open to a trade to the Astros, but he declined it yesterday for whatever reason.
He declined it yesterday because he wants to see where everybody stands a little bit later, maybe after the holiday.
No, that's true because they just traded Kyle Tucker. Like, how much is
Kyle
Houston
Tucker, another
really?
trade.
How much is he really, or how much is that team really investing into the year? I guess Nolan Arenado would want to know.
Now, according to Jeff Passan, he labels it as top 2 remaining top of the market free agents. He has temperature and it says comfortable right next to it. I'll read you a little excerpt from it. It says right-hander Corbin Burns and third baseman Alex Bregman are the 2 players left who fit the description, each with distinct markets that include some crossover. They also share an agent. You guessed it, Scotty B. And likely signing day after Christmas. Scott Boras represents Corbin Burns and Alex Bregman. The cost to sign Burns is likely to exceed Fried's deal, and Bregman's payday could be in the $200 million range as well. The markets for both players remain strong because a number of teams still have big money to spend. Among those, with payroll flexibility, the Blue Jays, the Giants, the Red Sox, the Orioles, the Detroit Tigers, the Houston Astros, and both New York teams. So, I mean, go ahead.
Bringing this to the National League West, I think the Giants are going to sign more big names here in the near future because they already signed Willie Adames. And what did Willie Adames say is the reason he went to San Francisco? Well, obviously they
Buster
have
Posey was a big
basically
reason. Yeah.
Buster Posey was the reason, and I think that that's going to work very well for the Giants in the future. And the Giants aren't afraid to spend money. They've never really been afraid to spend money, and they have a fan base that is hungry for them to win. So I think Buster goes for it this offseason.
I think outside of that one-off year that the Giants had where they won 100 games.
Like 105
It was
or
ridiculous,
something.
right? It's always seemingly been between the Padres and Dodgers in this division. The Diamondbacks came out of nowhere 2 years ago. They did it. But over the last 5, it's pretty consistently. Last 4, it's been pretty consistently the Padres.
Yeah, the Rockies are way out
Dodgers,
there.
right? The Giants are going to, I think, with Posey now running the front office, the baseball operations side of things, they're going to be another threat.
As a former player,
Because they've always had the money, but for whatever reason, and it was fun. It was funny. I was reading some of the comments that Farhan Zaidi had on Foul Territory, and he said when he first took over, he was hoping to be the San Antonio Spurs of Major League Baseball, and it made sense, right? He
What
wasn't
does he
out
mean,
trying.
boring?
Well, not only boring, he just wasn't trying to break the bank to put together a good team, and it didn't work.
No.
Buster Posey is not trying to be the San Antonio Spurs of the Giants.
Buster
basically.
Posey knows what works.
Well, he's had the luxury of kind of seeing what didn't work for quite some
That is
time
true,
while he's
too.
been retired.
And he's kind of like, he's a fan favorite for the Giants. So now that he's in charge of the team, it's going to win over fans because they're going to believe in the team again.
Remember, he was already kind of he became basically the dude. And I said this before any of this became a thing about him being a head of baseball operations. I would be scared if I was Farhan, because him getting that Chapman deal done and that leaked out.
That was it right there.
I was like, oh, it might as well be a wrap.
That was it.
What
right
owner
there.
is looking at this and is going, oh, yeah, that was a one-off, or Farhan, you'll be all right. You'll be able to get it together. No shot.
No.
And it wasn't that long before Farhan was let go, and he's continued, and Buster Posey is continuing to add pieces to that Giant team.
As a former player, would you, if you sit down with Buster Posey and you sit down with, say, Steve Cohen, are you naturally going to gravitate towards the former player because you guys have a similar understanding?
I don't know that you get. I mean, I think you go in maybe thinking that, but ultimately you hear from both guys. But what you do know is especially if you played against Buster, is okay. I know what I knew of you as a player, and it's lining up to be the same thing of what I've seen so far in terms of you kind of dipping your foot into the baseball ops side, and now we're having this conversation. All those things start to line. There is probably a comfort that is established there versus an owner that, even though he may be telling the truth and has all the money to spend, you don't know. There's a relatable part for Buster Posey that there may not be for any owner that's at the helm there.
I think now that he's in charge, he needs to change his name to his legal name, which is Gerald.
Well, we can get to that on the other side because we are at the 213
Okay, I got a
spot.
whole spiel about Gerald.
You might need to save that
Okay.
one. Let's get to break. When we come back, we're going to dive into some of this NFL news that's going on.
I can't wait.
I mean, some of it's kind of absurd. The Jets using Madden to figure out if they want players or not. Yes, I said it. The actual video game, Madden.
I had to reread this article 3 times to
and
make
Sammy
sure.
Sosa is apologizing for what? You'll have to stay tuned to find out. More Gwyn and Chris on the other side.
Termites.
Welcome back into Gwyn and Chris. Matt Scraby here. Chris Ello calling Aztecs women's basketball in about an hour or so. Starts at 3:30, so he will not be in today. Tony and I leading you up to Thursday Night Football between the Broncos and the Chargers up at SoFi. And thank you to Michael Flicks from last night for telling everyone that I wasn't lying about how hot it was in SoFi. It's amazing when I get people to actually agree with me on things, because everybody thinks I'm a crazy person.
He had your back on that one.
He did. He did have my back, and I appreciate Michael Flicks. If you missed his high school basketball breakdown, you can go to 97.3 The Fan. Go to the Gwyn and Chris podcast page. You'll see it there. You can also go to YouTube, search 97.3 The Fan. We're on right now. You can watch us, and you can also listen to us on YouTube. We got a community of YouTube chatters that you can join as well. Tomorrow is our last day. Our shows, I believe everyone on the station, it's our last day until January 6th. And let me tell you, that means the Ben & Woods Christmas extravaganza is always on the last day before the big break, and I saw them earlier. They look very worn out because they have so much going on back there on the stage. It looks amazing. They have everything all set up already. I am looking forward to tuning in tomorrow morning and seeing what they have planned for everyone. I heard a few of the plans, and they are big time.
Yeah, they do a terrific job with that. And
big time.
They got it ready for a good one for you, ready for this season or for this year too. So.
Yeah, stick around for those big time plans. All right, Woody Johnson, Jets owner.
Yeah.
So
this is another case of owners just having big egos and like can't just own the team. They got to actually move the pieces of the team as well.
Yeah, I didn't realize that he was the heir to the Johnson & Johnson fortune.
Oh yeah.
Man, that's some good money
That's
right there. That's
deep
money.
Deep money.
Yes, it is. But Woody Johnson, The Athletic put out this article, and there was 3 reporters on this, and they went through so many different things that have happened in the past year about how dysfunctional the Jets are. And the one thing that is catching hold, and I know everybody knows why it's catching hold because it's so wild. Before the year, I guess the GM wanted to make a trade for Jerry Jeudy from the Broncos to bring Aaron Rodgers another wide receiver. But Woody Johnson apparently came back with, his rating in Madden isn't high enough. I don't want to trade for Jerry Jeudy. And I had to read that 5 times. And it says the same thing 5 times. I cannot believe this is a real thing, Tony.
Yes, it's hard to believe it's a real thing. It really is. But it also speaks to why they're in this predicament they're in. When there's dysfunction at the top, then there begins to be dysfunction underneath,
all the way down.
And that's the thing. Here's the thing: if Robert Kraft, just using him as an example, outside of his one rendezvous that he had where it kind of came back to get him.
Yes.
He's relatively behind the scenes, not really visible all that much unless they're, celebrating.
Yes.
I think there's a reason for that, and I think that goes for a lot of the good teams that we often are talking about. They know how to stay behind the scenes, and they conduct themselves in a way that I think everybody who's underneath them recognizes, okay, this is how we're doing business here. And so when he's dysfunctional, then you can have a coaching staff that's dysfunctional. Then you can have a quarterback that's dysfunctional. I mean, those are like the main levels of leadership in all of it. And so, and I don't even know that the quarterback's dysfunctional this year. He just hasn't played well. And so that then leads to other things outside of just the football.
Yeah, it was more than that. I mean, there's just so much in this article on The Athletic that I don't understand.
By the way, we should tell everybody that the wide receiver that was trying to be traded for was Jerry Jeudy.
That's what I said.
And he's had a terrific year.
And this isn't the first time, apparently, according to these sources, that Woody Johnson or people in the Johnson family have used Madden as their the benchmark, because I guess the guard that they signed this offseason Woody Johnson didn't want him because his Madden awareness was very low. We're literally
we're not even looking at like the full
the
on
overall
attributes no more. We're just looking at the
this is real.
Madden awareness.
I'm not making this up to be crazy. No. This is real. But he said we don't want him because of his awareness. They signed him anyway. He's the eighth best guard according to Pro Football Focus in football this year. So that was a good signing. It's just I don't understand how you can even operate as a professional sports franchise in this way and think you're going to win.
Yeah, it is quite remarkable. Now, the other story that has come out out of this article, this one actually came from Bleacher Report. Earlier in the year, when after Saleh was fired and Jeff Ulbrich took over, there was a specific game that
Halloween night
they had come back, they had won that game, and Aaron Rodgers was prepared to give Jeff Ulbrich this game ball at the end.
First win as an interim coach.
Had the actual game ball in his hand.
Yes.
Before he could actually speak, Woody Johnson's son, Brick. We'll get into that in a second. But Brick decided he had a better idea. He was going to give the game ball, and I'm quoting, in a profanity-laced speech.
Speech.
To Garrett Wilson, who also had the one-handed catch that day.
Amazing catch.
Amazing. Very much on the Odell Beckham scale of amazing.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of dysfunction we're talking about.
And then the players anonymously said it took
all the steam
air
out
of the room, and I can totally understand why.
This is remember, by Halloween they were struggling, and they were looking for life.
Yeah.
A win like that, topped off by a game ball to the new head coach that has just took the helm, could go a little. It might get you a couple weeks.
Oh yeah, of pride,
of some good feels
coming together. But
instead,
Brick,
the owner's son, Brick,
who, by the way, I'm pretty sure it's the same Brick from Anchorman, the sports guy. When I read Brick this morning, that's all I thought of.
Brick, man.
And why is the Suns owner giving out game balls anyway?
That's the part. I think I certainly can see a situation where a head coach gives the owner a game ball. I can see a situation where the owner's in the room and he's participating as somebody's getting the game ball, but not actually giving the game ball.
Yeah.
What if the players just didn't say nothing? Like he was in there yelling, he's like, "Here's the game ball," and everybody was just like.
It would have been better than going along with it because you're just enabling at that point. Yeah, but then
they're all like, man, that dude's dad signs our paychecks. We better make sure we make him happy.
Yeah, if I'm a Jets fan, I'm pretty angry.
The bigger point is this is the type of dysfunction that the Jets have been dealing with all season long.
All season. And there's no way you can win in this type of dysfunction. Especially, it never fails to amaze me how smart, great businessmen like Woody Johnson can be so dumb and mess up everything within their own business.
It's not that
they hire people to do jobs.
It's not that
let
they're
them do them.
Dumb. They just think their way is better, and it's not. Most of the time,
it's not because they're not in sports.
I'm about to say it'd be different if Mr. Johnson, grew up around the game and this was his life, and he was this fortunate, had made this fortune in this game.
Yeah,
it'd be totally different if that was the case. I don't know that we have any owners that made it to that level at this point. Maybe down the road we'll have some that have eventually owned a team.
That's gonna be hard.
It's gonna be very hard
because it's all old money that owns the NFL.
This is Johnson & Johnson money right here.
I can't compete with Johnson & Johnson money.
No, not very many people can. Not very many people can.
This is just so ridiculous.
But it's almost. It's absurd. I mean, it's kind of absurd.
Yeah. To base things off of Madden ratings, I can't even believe it. And Joe Douglas, the former GM, was so happy to get out of there.
I bet you everybody who's been fired has been happy actually when it's all said and done.
Yeah. They just want out. They want to start fresh. They want to go somewhere where they can actually do their job and not have to worry about being fired for no reason.
Yeah, this is all bad. So
all bad.
Just the start of what shall be 4 weeks left? 3 weeks left?
Yeah.
I just say to all my Jet fans and Jet players at this point, You only got 3 more weeks.
Hang in there.
Hang in
like
there.
the cat on the line. Hang in there.
You're almost there, ladies and gentlemen.
And then you could start scheduling all of your vacations for right after the off season the season.
You could already start doing that now.
Yeah.
All
right.
There's no coming back.
Gwyn and Chris, 97.3 The Fan. Tony and I are going to cover you today because Chris is calling Aztecs women's basketball. When we get back, we have a very special guest in studio. He played golf with us a few weeks ago at the Aztec alumni event. Jack Townsen. We'll visit with him. We'll also have some Gwyn versus the fans. But, I guess you can call in right now. You might be on hold for a little bit, but 833-288-0973.
Gwynn Jr., Chris Bello not here at the VS Arena right now. Getting ready. What time does the game start?
30.
30. So about an hour away from tip-off. Aztecs, women Aztecs, looking to, 11-1?
11-1. They're playing the Stephen F. Austin Lady Jacks.
The Lady Jacks in town. It's a San Diego Classic hoop tournament that features some good teams from across the country. I think Georgia's one of those teams who is involved. I don't know that the Aztecs play them, but nonetheless, get a chance to go out, watch some of the women's hoop. They are having a terrific start to their season. All right, before we get to traffic, before we
No
get
traffic.
to
Just Chris
it's 2 o'clock. That's right. Before we get to Chris versus the Gwyn versus the fans.
Sorry, yeah.
You let me down the wrong path. I would like to introduce an Aztec himself. Jack Townsen joins us. He currently is on the men's golf team at San Diego State. I believe it's his last year with the team. Jack, how are you? We got a chance, as Scraby said a couple weeks ago, to play alongside Jack in the Aztec Alumni Baseball Golf Tournament, and he was our ringer. Basically, he kept us in the game. Jack, how are you again? Good to see you, my friend.
What's going on, you guys? How you guys doing today?
We're doing well. What I know, obviously, you guys are now in winter break. School is now. I think this was the last week for you. You were saying Tuesday was your last class. You guys are running that through January, towards the end of January. When do you start kicking in gear for your senior season at San Diego State?
Yeah, so I just wrapped up school on Tuesday with my last final.
What class was it?
It was communication leadership.
Oh,
Nice.
okay.
Yeah,
All right.
so not terrible.
I don't even know what that teaches, to be honest.
Took me a while to get through it, but yeah. So we get back into season on January 27th. We go to Sherwood Country Club for Pepperdine's tournament of it's our first tournament of the spring.
Now, when is that? When is your first spring tournament?
It's on January 27th through the 29th.
Okay.
So now, Sherwood is a nice golf course. This is where Tiger used to host his Hero Challenge all the time. I've never played there.
And I played there I played there for the California State Amateur.
Okay.
This past summer, I made it to match play by one, and then proceeded to watch a kid chip in on me 5 times.
So that was a tough one.
Brutal.
So I was like, I pretty much just shook the guy's hand, you know.
It's all you really could do at that point.
Seriously.
That's brutal.
So for those of us who may not know how college golf works, right? Season goes, it sounds like, from January till when?
I think so. The last turn, I really didn't look at the schedule yet, but we got our home tournament coming up at San Diego Country Club during March 13th through the 15th, I believe. And so our last season tournament is the Mountain West Conference, and that's normally around I want to say it's around April.
Okay. Are you guys traveling around the conference? You guys are going to different courses throughout the different cities that the schools have, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we mostly we'll drive out to Arizona. We normally play in a tournament in Washington for University of Washington's tournament. This was our 2 out of the 3 years we played in the Jackson T. Stevens Cup. It was streamed on Golf Channel.
Where was that at?
This past year, it was at Oklahoma Oklahoma Country Club.
Okay, all right.
And
you guys finished pretty well on that, right?
Yeah. So we made it to. They played for the bronze match against Oklahoma, but Oklahoma beat us, unfortunately.
That's still pretty far, though. Pretty far.
Yeah, at least I know we were happy that we made match play.
That's awesome. Well, Jack, I hope you got some time to stick around, listen to some of this Gwyn versus the fans. It's something that we do often. You're a listener of our show. You kind of know how this thing works. So sit back. Let's get to the game.
All right.
If you had one
All right, I know we're doing this a little bit earlier than usual in the show, but we have Mark Ziegler coming up at 4 p.m. Talking about SDFC and also talking about the Aztecs basketball team. So if you have never played the game before and you want to, call right now, 833-288-0973. You have to make it through 3 questions. Each question's going to get more difficult. If you get the question right, you move on. If you get it wrong and Chris gets it right, you're eliminated. But if Chris gets it wrong, then you move on to the next question or you win. If you're a first-time player, let us know before you get into it, and you will get the first question for free. And Chris vs. the Fans is presented by SD Fat Loss. Lose 20, 30 pounds in just 60 days. Visit sdfatloss.com to schedule your free consultation. Now, the prize for today is a qualification to a 2-night stay at Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino and 2 tickets to Hoops Central at the Westgate Superbook. The Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino features newly designed premier rooms, part of their $70 million room renovations, home of legendary Vegas fun. Experience the madness of March as only Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino could serve it up to you with high-definition screens, luxury seating, table service, access to all the best gaming action. Enjoy hoops action from the best up-and-coming stars on giant HD screens in a smoke-free environment as you thrill to the games that keep us coming back to college ball every year. I don't know what "as you thrill to the games" means, Tony, but I keep reading it because it's part of the read. Do you know what that means?
No.
As you thrill to the games?
No, I've just assumed that it was a typo.
No, it's not. Anyway, for tickets, head to westgateresorts.com. Yeah, I have been reading that, and I'll just continue to read it. All right, let's go to our first contestant today. Let's go to Hector. Hello, Hector.
What's up, Hector?
Good afternoon, boys.
Good afternoon. You ready to play?
Yes, sir.
All right, here we go. All right, Gwyn versus the Fans. What auto racing organization just had a big race in Las Vegas?
Oh, the F1. It was the F1?
F1 is correct. Nice job. We move on to question number 2. What bizarre item do Detroit Red Wings fans throw on the ice for good luck?
Octopus.
Octopus is correct. Okay, Hector knows his stuff. Let's see. I gotta delete that one. Here we go. Third and final question.
You need to delete that one because you had octopus misspelled there, buddy.
You didn't need to tell everyone.
Just want to
come
point
on.
that out.
Third and final question. You get this right, or Tony gets it wrong, and you're qualified for Las Vegas. There are 7 islands that make up Hawaii. Name 3 of the 4 most populated islands.
3 letters. Yeah. Okay. There's, I don't know. I'm bad at, that. Populated. Honolulu.
Okay, stay there because Tony has to get them all right, so you can still backwards your way in here. Tony, name 3 of the most populous islands in the Hawaiian Islands.
Kauai.
Okay.
Maui.
Okay.
And what's the third one? That's all I got, man.
That's all you got?
That's all I got. Kauai, Hawaii. Oh wait,
No.
Kauai. Why, first of all, why are you buzzing me?
Well, because you've already given up, and then because you've already given up.
No, let me get this. Kauai, Maui, and Honolulu. All right, go ahead.
It's Honolulu is in Oahu.
Oh, okay.
But it's Maui. So you are the winner, Hector. You're going to have to stay on hold. Hector's the only one excited about this.
Nice work, Hector.
Everybody on hold is like, why did we call in? Nice work, Hector. It's Maui, Hawaii, Oahu, and Kauai. They also have Molokai and Lanai. Which islands have you been to, Tony?
I've been to Maui. I've been to Kauai. Those are the 2 I've been to.
You've had to have been. Well, I guess you've never stayed overnight in Oahu. I guess you fly through Oahu sometimes.
I've never stayed in Oahu.
All right. Well, I thought you were going to know, honestly,
Nope.
when I asked that question.
And now we've got 10 minutes to cover here. Let's go.
All right, Jack.
All right, Jack, back to you.
Jack Townsen. We're going to put him back on.
Now, Jack, outside of golf, what are your interests? What are your interests? What do you enjoy doing?
So outside of golf, so I am a global soldier, and so what that is.
I was going to say, explain to folks who may not know what that is.
So it's it's a company. So it's a company that I work for. It's called Global Tile, and it's setting San Diego straight.
How so?
Yeah, I was gonna say, give us the pitch.
How so?
I go. So it's my friend's company that I help him work for, and in the part time, like when I don't play golf or I don't touch a club, I help him tile houses.
Oh, okay, all
so
right,
you
cool.
tiling houses. All
Man,
right.
that's some
So
hard
you
work
got,
right
you
there.
got some like hard labor that you're helping do.
Yep.
I'm sure that that's not great for the golf swing. You know.
I mean, I take a couple days off.
There you go. There you go.
It's
Now, let me ask you about your golf, because I am very curious about what your favorite drill is. And I know that drills aren't exciting, but I'm sure you got a favorite drill.
I do. So my tendency in the golf swing is to tilt backwards and flip the club.
Okay.
And to fix that, I practice some 3/4 knockdown pitch shots,
Okay.
and that's what helps. That's what helps to help you rotate the upper body more, to not lean back on the ball, because that obviously that tensions your lower part of your right back.
Yes.
And I mean, I know, I mean that's probably, because I've seen that Tiger Woods has had all the back surgeries in his career.
Yep.
And Will Zalatoris just recently had a back surgery.
Yep.
And
So you got to keep your back strong.
you just keep it in good of a shape as you can get it.
Yeah, and you were telling me before the show that you have a plan of playing professional golf. It may not be straight to the PGA Tour, but what's kind of sort of your plan once you get done with golf here?
I want to try to see if I can play for the Canadian or the Asian Tour, because those have like let's give an example of the Asian Tour. I can go qualify for, so they do first stage. You can automatically sign up for first stage, and then so they do a first stage and then a final stage. So I can do the first stage at a golf course called Soboba Springs. It's about an hour and a half up north.
Yeah.
It's in like Hemet area, just like basically on the other side of Palm Springs.
Mm-hmm.
And then
you qualify there, and then you can get a spot in the Asian Tour.
Mm-hmm. You have to place inside like the top 20 to get into the final stage, and then you have to fly all the way out to in Thailand. That's where they have the final stage. And if I get out there, and if I get another inside the top 20, I can get all the status I want for the Asian Tour.
Yeah, see, Tony, I don't know if and I think listeners don't really understand this, but there are certain ways that you have to get into the PGA Tour, and you can't just show up one day and qualify. You have to like get your card. So what Jack is saying, if he goes out and he wins an Asian Tour event, that means that he has a spot in many different PGA Tour events, and the Canadian Tour is even better. The Canadian Tour is like a direct funnel into PGA Tour. Same with Korn Ferry, which is the minor league tour that you were telling me about earlier.
So, Jack, is the Canadian Tour then a more difficult tour?
I haven't really heard about how the Canadian process works, but I know for Korn Ferry, so Korn Ferry has 4 stages. So, and first you have to do like a pre to get into first stage, and then you have to play well in the first to get into second stage, and same with like the third and then the fourth. And then if you so what I heard what Korn Ferry does is if you get top 30, let's say you get top 30 in the final stage of Korn Ferry, you can have status on the Korn Ferry.
Which is big. Which is huge. Because if you get into like different qualifying positions in that tournament, it gives you spots in the PGA Tour events and things like that.
Right. And let's just say if you would accomplish that, you have full status on the Korn Ferry.
Which does that give you spots in the majors?
Yeah. So recently, I think last or a couple weeks ago, they did. They had. It was during the Hero World where
Okay, yeah, Tigers tournament.
where just Scotty Scheffler wins like just,
Easily.
Runs away.
just has the way of yeah I'm gonna win this golf tournament. That was going on, and then there were some guys that had like huge par putts
That
where
would save their
they're
career
from,
almost.
They're from like 10, 12 feet. They're making all these putts to like make it on the number to get their PGA Tour card for the 2025 season.
Yeah, you don't think that, we all, Tony and I are amateurs, and we stand over our 4-foot putt, and we're all nervous about our 4-foot putt. But can you imagine, Tony? I mean, you kind of can. You're a professional athlete, but I can't imagine trying to make a 12-foot putt to save my career and save my spot on the tour. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's not meant for everybody. That's for sure. It's not meant for the weak of stomach when it comes to those type of things. Jack, that's kind of your path right now. You want to get on one of these.
That's what I'm working on. That's what I'm working on.
So everybody, when you see Jack Townsen's name on the leaderboard on Sundays, you know that he was a San Diego State Aztec. Last question, Jack, before you get out of here. How did we golf? What did you think of us?
How did Scraby golf?
No, not me.
I already know how I golfed, and everybody else does too. He wants to know what you thought of his shot.
No, that is not why I asked the
That's
question.
why he's asking.
I tell you what, I think that might have been one of the funnest and one of the fun and funniest rounds that I've ever played.
Nice. Okay, good. I'm happy about that.
Baby Come Back was a
Baby
hit.
Come Back.
Yeah,
It was a hit for sure.
So we were in the third. Yeah, what was our third hole? The third hole of that day. One of the baseball coaches,
Anthony Johnson. Yeah.
He I didn't know he was behind the tee box, and I'm watching you tee off.
Tony teeing off, yeah.
I'm watching Tony tee off. Just like, oh, he's gonna hit this. He's gonna hit this probably down the middle of the fairway.
Little did he know.
And I did see you aimed a little right.
Yeah, that's because he has to come back left.
And
You found out why.
And then right when he hits the ball at impact, I hear a baby come back.
It got all of us laughing.
And then I just, and then me and Chris had the song on our phones. And
yes.
I had to, every time when Tony hits a drive after impact, I have to play the baby come back.
Yeah, he was on it. He was the DJ for that.
I gotta say, Tony's swing was pretty. It was good. I gotta say,
it's stiff.
That's
what
what
it is.
I mean, you got some speed though. I'll tell you that.
He's got some bad speed.
I appreciate that. That's the one thing I should have, at least a little bit of speed. Now
because I've golfed with, I used to golf with Craig Stammen a lot.
That guy can hit. He can hit a golf ball.
Like I hit the ball pretty far, right? And then I watch him hit. I'm like, holy,
yeah.
Holy,
like, this guy's
he's a good golfer too.
No, yeah,
good golfer.
He hits it.
Yeah.
It was funny. I golfed with him, Austin Nola, and
you got 20 seconds, Jack.
and we had and their agent was there with them.
They did.
And I had to help Austin a little bit because it didn't look so pretty for him.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. More Gwyn and Chris on the other side.
Thank you, Jack, for coming in.
3 o'clock hour daily Gambit coming up. All right, welcome into the 3 o'clock hour. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings. B-Dubs is football. Head to your local Buffalo Wings. Try it again, Buffalo Wild Wings. And try their new maple chipotle sauce for rich maple sweetness and a mild, smoky chipotle heat. Or for a bit of a kick, check out the new Cajun sauce for a rich blend of spicy and tangy pepper sauce. Stop by your San Diego B-Dubs or order now for takeout and delivery with Buffalo Wild Wings. Go. Stupid camera.
I know.
Once again.
I can't with these cameras. You have to watch the YouTube to get it. Just search 97.3
It's just
Fan.
ridiculous. Excuse me.
And Adam comes in here and he's like, guys, it's so simple.
Yeah, Adam was he was ear hustling the show yesterday from his office. And he clearly
Ear hustling?
He clearly was listening and came running in here after we discovered. I saw this camera, very same camera that I'm looking into right now, on its own, shut down and just went downwards by itself. And Chris was just talking; he didn't notice it, and so Adam hears our conversation, and I thought it was kind of funny because Adam comes running in. And he sees the camera pointed down. He's like, of course. You just got the camera down. You just got to move it up to your face.
Which I appreciate that, actually. Because if I walked in like that, too, I would be like, Chris, really? You can't even tell that your camera's off?
I was cracking up because he thought that Chris was just we were all operating as just the camera was down. But we later were able to explain it after we went to break that the camera has literally a mind of its own. And it's not so much about me putting my hand up and locking in it as it is right now. But eventually, it just does what it wants to do.
Follows me to the bathroom. It does lots of weird stuff, these cameras.
Indeed. Chargers, Broncos, coming up in about an hour and a half. Or we'll
send you
to Thursday Night Football for an hour and a half. Or in an hour and a half. And big game, as Scraby described, a AFC West game that I think at the beginning of the year we didn't really think would be all that important, but
not at all.
It's turning out to be at least important in terms of playoff implications. No one's going to catch the Kansas City Chiefs. So,
as the show's chief hater, I hate it when people that I don't want to do well, and that's Sean Payton and the Broncos. I cannot believe that he has his team at 9-5. I cannot believe they're heading towards the playoff, and I ccannot believe that he was right by saying that Bo Nix is going to be one of the best, if not the best, quarterback in the class.
Yeah, I hate that he's been right too. I guess on one side I should know he's a good coach. I just didn't like his antics last year. It was very unbecoming of
childish
of a someone I consider to be a really good coach. I still consider him to be a good coach. He's just not the greatest person at this point in my book.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Business is business, I guess they say.
Business is business.
All right. We do have a daily gambit to get to, some bets to get to right now.
Do you like money?
I think about money a lot.
Do you like money without doing anything?
Winning.
Do you want to make money while watching sports?
I think Washington is immortal luck.
Washington! Woohoo! If you answered yes, this is your segment. Just don't blame us when you lose.
Well, nothing is ever your fault.
It's your game. Take it.
Gwyn and Chris go through the top bets of the day in The Daily Gambit on 97.3 The Fan.
Daily Gambit is our daily sports betting segment here on Gwyn and Chris. Please, everybody, gamble responsibly. We are going to talk about Sammy Sosa and his statement that he released today in the next segment, so around 3:15, 3:20. But it's kind of interesting what Sammy Sosa said today, so we're going to break it down. Bets last night that we had. First, the LA Bowl. By the way, Tony, did you watch any of this LA Bowl?
And I did not.
Cal's uniforms, every time I looked up at the screen, made me think LSU. Because it was.
Did they have purple on?
No, but it was like yellow, white.
Oh, okay.
And the helmets were yellow, and they had like the little, it just looked like LSU. They played UNLV. UNLV, 3.5 point favorites, and UNLV won convincingly, 24-13.
They covered.
You guys win that bet. I chose Cal, and I was wrong.
I mainly picked them because they're in the Mountain West and kind of want the Mountain West teams to win.
Yeah, that's true.
For now, until we get our official Pac-12.
That's right.
Our 8, whatever you want to call it.
I was gonna say we're gonna have. Well, if the Big Ten can have like 19 teams or 20 teams, then the Pac-12 can have whatever they want. Creighton -4.5 last night at Georgetown. You guys chose Creighton. Another pick, I believe, Tony, because you thought Mountain West, or you wanted a team that the Aztecs have played to win to make their schedule better. I picked Georgetown. Georgetown beat down Creighton.
Wow.
81-57. So it leads me to believe, after all these Creighton games that they've been losing, Creighton's not very good this year.
Wait. They've been losing. They lost to State.
Let me see.
Then they beat Kansas, who was
Yes.
number 1, and now they've lost this game.
Let me see. I thought they lost more.
See, Scrape over here, bear misinformation.
You couldn't wait to say that. Hold on, I'm getting to the ESPN
We'll wait.
page.
We'll
They're
wait.
7-5.
Okay.
They lost to Nebraska, San Diego State, Texas A&M, and they lost to Alabama and Georgetown.
Man, jeez.
Okay, fine. I'll give it to you. They're a little bit better. I guess I shouldn't call them terrible.
It's just not
yet.
that they're good. They're just not like you're trying to make it seem like they're terrible.
They're terrible. Georgetown wins 81-57. Now this one really hurts, Tony. Bradley, never even heard of Bradley. -1.5 over my USF Dons.
Me and Chris had heard of them.
Yeah, you heard of them yesterday when you looked up the bet. Bradley was, again, -1.5. I took USF. Bradley wins 66-64. And like I said, my Dons have played very terrible teams. Washington State last night. Washington 3-point favorites in this one. Washington we all bet on, and Washington won by 16, 89-73. So that works. Gonzaga -32.5 points over Nichols State last night. We all chose the Zags. The Zags won. They didn't win by enough, though. They only won by 30, 102-72.
Come on, Zags.
So not good for
We
us.
need 3 more points out of you.
Duke -40. Duke women's -43.5 on the spread over Wofford. We all chose Duke. Duke won, but not by enough. 93-58, 35 points. So we did not do well on our bets last night. Let's go to tonight. Broncos at Chargers, Tony. 2.5-point favorites are the Chargers, which tells me that the Broncos are actually the favorites because the Chargers get 3 points for being at home.
Give me the Chargers.
Chargers.
Give me the Chargers, baby.
Go Chargers. I think the Broncos are going to win. All right, Tony. Gus Edwards. Over under 9.5 carries. Now, I did my research. Only 1 out of the last 5 games with 10 or more carries. Would you say, or I guess I'm first, over under 9.5? I'm going to say he goes over tonight because Patrick, the Broncos' pass defense is pretty good. So they're going to have to run a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think it's that good. So we're going to go under 9.5.
Under 9.5. Justin Herbert, over under 229.5 passing yards tonight. He has 1 game over 229 in the past 6 games, Tony.
He'll need to go over for them to win. So.
For them to win.
Yes.
Okay. And I will go under. He hasn't done it that much. So that's all the bets I got today. We'll review those bets tomorrow on the Daily Gambit. Tony has some strong opinions about Joe Mazzulla, the Boston Celtics
mainly
head
because
coach.
he's a Boston Celtic. That's main.
I figured that's where this comes from.
But he's just, you know, we've had this discussion. He's a reinventor of will when it comes to like talking and dealing with media.
He's a philosopher.
He thinks he is.
Yes.
That's the funny part is he thinks he is just this brilliant outside the box thinker.
Here's what so he did an interview and they asked him about the 3-point shot, and that's all of a sudden become the biggest thing in the NBA right now is the 3-point line.
You know it's big when the king is talking about it now.
Yes, LeBron did. Adam Silver even had to address this.
Yeah.
It is kind of crazy how things like start one day and then become so big that it overtakes the NBA.
What's interesting is that I think because of social media, a story like that can be talked about here on the West Coast first and trickle its way back the other way. It used to didn't work like that. It used to be by the time we got it out west, the East had already been speaking about it. But it does seem like we talked about it on Monday? I think that was the first day Chris brought up the ratings, and then it seems like every day another figurehead for the NBA has spoken on it. But go ahead, finish what you were saying.
No,
or should you hold this to the other side, dear player?
No, because we're going to talk Sammy Sosa on the other side.
We might need both.
Okay, Joe Mazzulla, the philosopher. I have to actually delete these things first. But Joe Mazzulla, the Boston Celtic philosopher, what he said on the other side, also Sammy Sosa, and what he said
says
today.
He's sorry.
I don't
For
know
what,
if I
though?
believe him. Yeah, exactly.
For what? We're gonna find
Don't
out.
apologize if you're not apologizing for anything, Sammy. More next.
From the night.
Show today. Thursday night football follows. Denver Broncos. Los Angeles Chargers. I almost put the wrong two words in front of the Chargers there for a sec.
You know what's funny is that I never hear a Raiders mistake, but I still hear people calling him. Like Phil Simms does the Boomer and Valenti football show after my show on Friday nights, and Phil Simms every time still says San Diego.
Yeah, it's embedded in him because that's all he played.
That's true.
So
yeah, that's true.
For people here, well, for me, it's all I ever really cheered for. So
yeah,
it still happens from time to time. Not as much as it used to.
No.
We got a bunch. Before we went to break, we were talking about Sammy Sosa, and what was the other one we were talking about?
Joe Mazzulla,
Joe Mazzulla, the philosopher.
Aristotle.
Meanwhile, another court answer in terms of court's decision, in terms of college athletes or soon to be college athletes. This one pertaining to JUCO. I'll get to that in a second. We're gonna button up this Joe Mazzulla deal. Go ahead.
All right, so Joe Mazzulla, head coach of the Boston Celtics. Everybody's talking about the three-pointer being an issue in the game. The Celtics are a team that puts up a ton of three-pointers,
so he
more
feels
than
like
any other team.
He may feel like people are talking about his team.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Every single team in the league is taking 30 or more three-point shots per game this season.
Every team?
That's what it says.
Wait, run that back.
It says the Celtics aren't the only team putting up threes at a high rate, though. Every single team in the league is taking 30 or more three-point shots per game this season, led by the C's at 51.1% or 51.1 threes per game.
Think about that. Every team in the league is averaging 30 more than they did last year. 30 more three-pointers than they did last year.
30 or more.
Whatever.
Not 30 more than what they did last year.
Oh, 30 or more.
Like, they could have averaged 28, but now every team is averaging 30 three-point shots
I got you.
attempted per game.
Either way,
It's crazy.
The numbers are up. That would have been ridiculous if everybody was shooting 30 more than they were last year. We'd be in trouble.
But I guess for comparison, 10 years ago, only one team attempted more than 30 three-pointers per game, which was the Houston Rockets. So just in 10 years, it went from one team to all teams. And so the Boston Celtics are kind of in the crossfire for this because they're the ones who are taking the most threes. And Mazzulla said this, quote, "I would not reduce it to a so-called three-pointing issue. I think we look more holistically at the skill level on the floor."
First of all, the way you're talking right now, it is giving me Joe Mazzulla like in person.
Really? I've never heard.
Have you listened to this dude
Not
talk?
really, no.
Go ahead. Please continue.
I'll start it over. I would not reduce it to a so-called three-pointing shooting issue. I think we look more holistically at the skill level on the floor, the diversity of the offense, the fan reception of the game, all of the above. So basically, he says it's not a problem, Tony.
Continue.
He said...
I want you to get to the good part.
Historically, at time... Oh, no, sorry.
It's the part about all sports.
Why is my... Oh, yeah. Here it is.
This was the part that got me.
It's an interesting perspective because in the NFL, people aren't like, I want to see less scoring. They're not going to make the end zone smaller. They're not going to make the field smaller. Scoring is up across other sports. I guess my question would be, why in basketball would scoring be up an issue as opposed to other sports? Does anybody want to watch a football game and see less touchdowns?
Now, first of all, outside of that last little stutter there, you had Joe Mazzulla.
Okay, I butchered that end.
To a T.
He is annoying if he does sound like that.
Exactly.
That's how I read it.
That's exactly how he sounds. Now, that being said, the idea that I'll tell you why, Joe. Nobody's really focused on those other sports because their ratings aren't going down, buddy. Their ratings aren't going down by a large margin. On top of that,
yes.
So you can, philosophize your way all the way out of this conversation you're having. The fact remains that people aren't watching, partly because they don't like how the game is being played. It's the same thing we saw in baseball, right?
Yeah.
They didn't like how
long the
game was, so therefore they didn't care about all the homers that were being hit. They didn't care about none of that. All of a sudden the game got sped up. They caught their interest again. Now, baseball is back to having some serious success in terms of putting butts in seats. Now, I don't know that the NBA is not having having issues putting button seats, but we certainly know they are turning it off right now.
And it's interesting that these ratings come out in the fall in ratings after they are about to move their major contract to Prime.
Yeah, that's another thing
and
too.
Peacock. And so if I'm Prime and Peacock, it's like, what am I paying for if 50% of my viewers are gone?
But here's also where I think the NBA is different than the other leagues. Oftentimes, situations pop up, circulates around the league, and I feel like in the NBA, players get on board really quickly in terms of fixing the situation. The fact that you had Adam Silver come out yesterday, LeBron James come out today, all saying the same thing. We've got to fix it. We got to take a look at it. They are already starting to line themselves up, it seems like, with fixing it. I don't know that the other sports go that way. Like, it seems like when there's a problem, there's kind of like everybody goes to their position first. We're going to fight this side, you fight that side.
Yeah.
Eventually we'll come to the middle, but there's going to be some pull, there's going to be pull both ways. It feels like in the NBA, part of the reason why they seemingly overcome some of these issues is because I think they recognize ultimately you got to keep the people who are paying, tuning in tune with your game. And remember, it was just last year we were talking about how well they were doing, and
they were crushing it.
That fast, it can go left on you.
I've been polling some people, and they're my friends, so they kind of think similarly along my lines.
That's what I said. You got to worry about the
in this regard. Sometimes I ask random people because I need the randomness, but it comes down to us for me and my group of friends. We just don't care about what the players want in their contracts, honestly. And I know this is sports, but I don't like it when Giannis helps the team win a championship, gets $280 million, and is like, you know what? I kind of just want to play for the Knicks now. So trade me to the Knicks.
But what does that have to do with what we're talking about?
Because fan interactions and fan, paying attention to the NBA, it's too hard to follow where these guys are going. And then once you start complaining about how you're not making enough money and you want to go to this team,
is
this team
it
only,
easier to follow the NBA and NHL and MLB and they're moving at the same rate?
You cannot force trades like the NBA.
Really?
In Major League Baseball,
did not force his way out of Colorado to St. Louis and is now on his way to force his way out of St. Louis to whatever his next destination is.
I guess you're right there. I guess. I mean, it doesn't happen as often, though. You're talking about one player. Like I'm talking about lots of players.
I can keep going if you really want to. Baseball, honestly,
I just think that there's a lot of they're not actually thinking about the common fan. And
I hear you, but I don't know that is the reason why people are not tuning in. Load managing probably has far more to do with people not tuning in
the chat
than it does guys forcing their way to a different team. The way the game doesn't really look like a fluid game that we all kind of grew up watching. I think that's also, it's the same thing. You can see some of the same correlations with baseball as you can see with the NBA. And listen, we talked about it on Tuesday with the NFL. The high-scoring games are fun, but if everybody's high-scoring, as we see the NBA, everybody putting up points, it becomes less exciting to see the same thing over and over again.
You're right, because it is fun to see a 144, 133, or 142 game when the average score is 101 to 98.
Right. Put it this way. You used to see a 144, 133 game. In the All-Star game.
Now it's 200 points.
That was like, oh, wow, look at all these points they're putting up. And then now we're looking at 200. And guess what? It's not nearly as exciting. It's not. It's predictable. You know what's happening. It doesn't look. Again, I go back to what I said yesterday. If you care, I care. As a consumer watching. If I watch and it looks like you care, like you are playing hard,
true.
And you get everybody doing that, that's compelling TV to watch. But if I'm tuning in and you look like you just out there just kind of lounging through it, I'm going to go to the next channel. See what else is on.
I will too. I'd rather go watch high school basketball if I'm watching a game and the guys are just running up and down. But 51 threes a game for the Celtics is ridiculous.
They're winning, so it's tough to. I see why Joe is reluctant to entertain the idea that there's too many threes. He wants to
Why doesn't he challenge his players to learn the game inside?
He wants to look at baseball and football and examine those sports and see why nobody's complaining there.
Don't compare your sport to other sports.
It's just
it doesn't make sense.
It makes no sense at all.
Clay says, Tony, I do not recognize basketball now. Too much traveling, fouling, not called. It is not exciting.
Yeah, well, I don't know. The traveling, I've been hearing the traveling thing literally since I was in high school. Like, that has been the gripe of everybody. I think a lot of it is that they don't understand the NBA rules are not the same as college. They're not the same as high school.
Yeah, if LeBron travels, it's okay. But
the fouling thing is, I think that's universal. I think a lot of like to see it called tighter, right? But again, there was a time where the consumer wanted more points. They didn't like the defensive 80, 89, 85 games. It wasn't because
a lot of that is just holding the ball.
Right. Well, no, it wasn't.
And moving it around.
It was also you got those calls. You couldn't just you could. I mean, as a defense, you could manhandle an offensive play. You could put your arm on him, your hand on him, for crying out loud. You can't touch a guy now.
No.
So yeah, I agree with the foul part. I think they have, in the attempt to try to loosen up the game so there could be more scoring, we've seen it probably be overcorrected. In the same way we saw with baseball, right? Home chicks dig the long balls. Then we started getting just an absurd amount of long balls, and it was like, okay, everybody's hitting 30 now. I can't distinguish who's actually that guy and who's not that guy.
I remember us having that conversation because we looked up how many guys had over 25 home runs.
It was
and there was
115.
Yeah, and then the year after it was like only 30 guys or something like that.
It gradually got a little bit lower as seemingly the ball changed. You didn't hear that from me, though. Let's get to break. On the other side, Big Five.
We also still have Sammy Sosa to talk about.
You know what?
Maybe I'll put Sammy as a part of the
Big Five.
Okay.
That'll get us for sure talking about his apology and what he's apologizing for. More Gwyn and Chris on the other side.
There's Roadrunner. Meet me. He doesn't like me. I guess I wouldn't like me either if I was chasing me. As you can see, I'm all Aztec out here at the Aztec baseball tournament. It's the SDSU baseball alumni tournament. Right now, we are 1 under in the scramble, and Chris is playing well, Tony's playing well, but our ringer, Jack Townsen, is playing really well, so. So Chris says that he can't play golf, but this is the second birdie putt he's made for us. This time it was like 20 feet.
Thank you very much, Greg. But once again, you're hitting some very nice shots as well. I'm not usually complimentary to you, but I can't help but be complimentary. Your shot making today.
With my what?
Your shot making. You hit some.
We are week 10 now, and it's getting really windy. It's actually kind of cold. I'm not gonna lie, I know we're in San Diego, but we're 3 under as a group. We just got off the birdie, and I just hit my defense. There's a squirrel. He wants to attack me. Squirrely! We just got our second birdie of the day thanks to this guy.
Yeah, a 4-footer after.
It was a 5-footer.
After our pro drove it 300 to the front of the green and then chipped it within 5 feet.
Uh-oh.
Gravy, don't feed the animals.
Don't feed the animals. I do feed animals, but Chris made a birdie putt. Leaving the golf course. And we ended up shooting 63 once everything was accounted for, since it was a scramble and we had an SDSU golf player, Jack Townsen. He was with us and he did a lot for us. I think we shot 63 because of him, but we all had a good time. There's Roadrunner. Meet me. He doesn't like me. I guess I wouldn't like me either if I was chasing me. As you can see, I'm all Aztec out here at the Aztec baseball tournament. It's the SDSU baseball alumni tournament. Right now, we are 1 under in the scramble, and Chris is playing well, Tony's playing well, but our ringer, Jack Townsen, is playing really well, so. So Chris says that he can't play golf, but this is the second birdie putt he's made for us. This time it was like 20 feet.
Thank you very much, Greg. But once again, you're hitting some very nice shots as well. I'm not usually complimentary to you, but I can't help but be complimentary. Your shot making today.
With my what?
Your shot making. You hit some.
We are just around league 10 now, and it's getting really windy. It's actually kind of cold. I'm not gonna lie, I know we're in San Diego, but we're 3 under as a group. We just got off the birdie, and I just hit my defense. There's a squirrel, but he wants to attack me. Squirrely! We just got our second birdie of the day thanks to this guy.
Yeah, a 4-footer after.
It was a 5-footer.
After our pro drove it 300 to the front of the green and then chipped it within 5 feet.
Uh-oh.
Gravy, don't feed the animals.
Don't feed the animals. I do feed animals, but Chris made a birdie putt. Leaving the golf course. And
More on the clock. Tony Gwynn Jr., Chris Ello not here. Actually tipping off right about now.
I'll get the score going.
Lady Aztecs 10-1, taking on, what is it, Stephen Austin?
Stephen F. Austin,
Stephen
Lady
F.
Jacks.
Austin, Lady Jacks.
Yep.
Tipping off right now as we speak. We'll keep you updated on that score. Now, as we promised, Sammy Sosa is out in these streets apologizing. What is he out in these streets apologizing for? Well, we don't know. I don't know if Sammy knows what he's apologizing for. I almost called you Chris.
It's fine.
Matt.
I don't think he does either. You want me to read the statement?
Read the statement, please.
It's not that long. For something that you're apologizing for, it's very brief.
Very brief. Well, that's because he does. I don't think he knows what he's apologizing about.
That's okay, true. I love the date on the top, December 19th, 2024, according to the statement. Sammy said, I left it all on the field for the Cubs and Cubs fans because I wanted to win and make the fans happy. I love to see the fans at Wrigley and the right field bleachers every home game. I understand why some players in my era don't always get the recognition that our stats deserve. There were times I did whatever I could to recover from injuries in an effort to keep my strength up to perform over 162 games. I never broke any laws, but in hindsight, I made mistakes and I apologize. We accomplished great things as a team, and I worked extremely hard in the batting cage to become a great hitter. Cubs fans are the best in the world, and I hope the fans, the Cubs, and I can all come together again and move forward. We can't change the past, but the future is bright. In my heart, I have always been a Cub, and I can't wait to see Cubs fans again. Sincerely, Sammy Sosa.
That was a terrific class of how you write an apology without actually saying what you're apologizing for.
What is he apologizing for?
I'm just going to assume he's talking about steroids.
Oh.
That's what I'm going to assume here.
Maybe he just left it out on accident.
Maybe he didn't know how to spell it. I don't know what it was. He just decided to go with I made mistakes and I apologize. I honestly am one of those people who feel like these guys need to stop apologizing for it at this point. Like,
it's just so random.
You made a decision, and outside of not being in the Hall of Fame, I don't know that there's very much to regret about it, if I'm being completely honest.
Outside of him making the Hall of Fame?
Outside of him not making the Hall of Fame.
Not making the Hall of Fame. Yeah, you're probably right, because at the time, that was what people did.
It wasn't against the rules, believe it or not. Wasn't anything in the collective bargaining agreement that said they couldn't.
That's true. I mean, it is against federal laws.
It's against
I believe.
federal law.
So when he said he didn't break the law, I mean, he's kind of skirting the real truth there.
Skirting is a very polite word of saying.
I never broke any laws.
Now,
I believe he did.
Now, maybe he had a prescription.
Or maybe he went to a different country to administer things.
We don't know. We don't know. Nevertheless, he did what he did. I remind everybody at a time where baseball was...
Ratings were down.
Everything was down. They had just come back from the strike in '94. This is 2 years later, mind you.
Yep.
And, it was 2 years later when Mark and...
Sammy.
Was it 2? No, it was 98, wasn't it? It was
yeah,
98.
I think it was
4 years later. It was 98. 4 years later is when that whole shebang happened. They're chasing each other. They're chasing a home run record. And it really revitalized the game.
That's why I don't understand why so many people punish these players, because at the time that was what was needed to get eyes back on the sport.
I won't say that is what was needed, but something was needed.
It helped.
Something was definitely needed. And from that point on, baseball has kind of resurged, back to the prominence that it had as America's pastime. Now, listen, I think there's two different conversations. There's a conversation with how that pertains to the guys who were in the league who weren't. The tough part is you don't know. You really can't 100% say yes or no to the guys who, were in the league at that time.
Yeah.
It wasn't until, I think it was 2003 or 4 where they did the random, we're not going to tell anybody, and then it leaked out that Big Papi Ortiz had failed it.
Yeah.
It wasn't until then. So this is now from 98 to 03, 04. It wasn't until 5-6 years later that it actually became, if you get caught, suspension. And then we've kind of evolved it from that point on. It took a while for the laws of baseball to catch up to where everybody else was at.
Who was the commissioner at the time? Selig? Bud Selig? Would he be the commissioner during this whole thing? Because he's probably sitting back during this whole thing acting like, hey, I'll take all the eyeballs I can get on my sport right now. And I don't need to act right now because we don't really know what's happening.
Listen, I think that is kind of the hubbub about what was going on at that time, right? I think it was obvious as we got into like the 96, 7, 8, 9. It was starting to become obvious like, yo, these guys are kind of big. They don't look like they used to look.
Barry Bonds is growing muscle, but his head is staying his head is getting bigger too.
They don't look like they used to. But nobody was saying anything. It wasn't until, the whole Balco thing started to erupt and all of that stuff that kind of brought it to light that everybody was like, oh my God.
The dirty little secret.
I can't believe they're doing this.
And then everybody is like against it, even though they're cashing their
and so
checks.
now we fast forward to 2024. I don't think anybody still feels, outside of the writers, I don't think anybody feels the same. And even some of the writers don't feel the same way they did at the time.
Doesn't matter to me at all.
And so, anyway, the point is Sammy's apologizing for something. And now he has been invited. Remember, he had not been invited back to a Cubs kind of function in a long time. He's now invited back.
I think there might be some, I'm running out of money, I need appearance fees.
Or part of the regret that can happen outside of Hall of Fame is the organization that you spent your entire career with and grew up in doesn't want to have anything to do with you.
That would hurt.
Yeah, it would hurt. If you put, if, as he said, blood, sweat, and tears, that does eat you up after a while. And so maybe that has something to do with it. I'm not sure. But either way, you'll see a little bit more of the light-skinned version of Sammy Sosa, I'm sure.
Thank you for saying that.
With that being said, let's check traffic and get to our Big Five.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Viejas Casino and Resort. Got a handful of trouble spots here, guys. Westbound 8 right at the southbound 5 connector ramp. Got a collision over to the right shoulder. Also a collision on southbound 15 before Arrow Drive. Looks like that may already be in the clearing stage. Crash to the South Bay, southbound 805 Otay Valley. The two right lanes are blocked. And northbound side of the 805 near Governor Cordell and Cordell traffic cam shows a stalled car in the center divide. Viejas Casino and Resort is home to the best players club in My Viejas. Start earning points toward incredible rewards like free gifts, concert tickets, hotel stays, dining discounts, and more. It's time to ditch the other guys and join the best. The My Viejas Players Club, Viejas Casino and Resort. I'm Kelly Danick with Gwyn and Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
It's that time of the show when we check on the latest in sports. Only the most important topics and questions are brought to light.
Stop what you're doing and listen.
These news stories will astound and amaze you. The one, the only.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
The Big Five starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
All right. The Big Five. If you love Mediterranean food, try Spiro's for authentic Mediterranean cuisine in Coronado or La Jolla for dining or takeout options. Visit spiroscuisine.com.
Number 5.
Now, Tony, we're going to start with the streaming future of sports in America. I was reading about this in the future of sports media, and some experts were giving their opinions on what may happen by the end of 2025. So not this year, next year. And a lot of experts are predicting Netflix is going to emerge as the major sports broadcaster in 2026 and beyond. Some even think Netflix may move towards being the exclusive partner of the NFL, but that is a little bit of a ways off because of the contracts with the terrestrial TV networks.
It better not. I just got onto YouTube, so they need to stay there for a while.
But you also pay for... Oh, you did that...
I did that specifically for NFL, so don't play with me, NFL.
I don't think NFL cares, Tony.
I know they don't
care.
care. But I need them not to do this.
Would you... Okay,
I had
well,
to
this is
convince
my
my whole
question.
family to leave DirecTV for this.
For people out there, this was a big deal.
It was definitely
we
a big
talked
deal.
about it in breaks for weeks leading, months almost leading up to it.
I pulled the trigger, and now they're already talking about going to Netflix.
No.
At least I have Netflix already.
Yeah,
so.
these are the prognostications of industry experts, but I guess you already answered it. Would you be okay with Netflix dominating the sports landscape?
Initially, I would not be.
Yeah. But then we get used to it.
But like everything else in NFL, we get on board at some point. I'm sure I would be one of those people. Unfortunately.
Yeah. I think that sports finally found the only way to get us to stay on a channel and not leave during commercials, and that's stream it on an app that is on your TV so that it makes it really hard.
Don't get me wrong. We all still try, even though we know we can't.
I don't even try.
We're like hoping maybe they put in a new kind of thing now where we can. Nope, sorry.
You're gonna have to stay here on Prime and listen to all of our commercials, and it's kind of genius, I have to say. It forces us, and we'll stay.
An evil genius.
Netflix is already kind of dominating. I said yesterday, maybe off the air, they're doing an SEC.
No, you said it on air.
Documentary, and they've done the receiver, the golf, the everything, the NASCAR, the F1. I think this is already happening, so might as well get used to it.
Unfortunately.
Netflix prices are going to go through the roof, though, because they have to pay for these sports somehow. And they did the deal with WWE for like $5 billion.
Well, consider they handed out money. I'm not concerned that Netflix doesn't have the loot.
I would agree with you.
They're giving out all these. They give out comedian specials. They create these documentaries. They got the loot.
They can pay Tom Brady to roast them.
Right.
They do. They get Mike Tyson. I mean, they got 150 million viewers for the Mike Tyson-Jake Paul fight. They're fine.
Advertisers are paying big dollars to those places.
Andy says, I don't watch commercials on Prime. Tell us, because that's a $1 billion idea.
Please.
Number 4.
The Chiefs are going to activate wide receiver Hollywood Brown from injured reserve and play him in Saturday's game against the Houston Texans unless he has any setbacks, according to ESPN. Brown hasn't played for the Chiefs since suffering a sternoclavicle injury on the first play of the first preseason game. He had surgery, was in rehab before returning to practice for the first time last week. Chiefs head coach Andy Reid said today there's a good chance that he plays on Saturday and said that he's been able to run and keep himself in running shape. I'm up first. Is this a game changer for the Chiefs? Can be. Hollywood, though, is an up-and-down player. Hollywood has never really been able to figure it out with the Ravens, the Cardinals, but it can be. And that's all Patrick Mahomes needs is him on the field, and he'll take advantage of it. So, yes. Tony?
I think this is a game changer. And yes, Hollywood Brown hasn't been able to figure it out for full seasons. He's not being asked to figure it out for a full season. He's being asked to be good for, a 7-week stretch?
Yeah.
Basically, 8-week stretch?
Yeah.
I think he can do that. And now you can have him and Worthy as your stretch to field guys. I think that's going to open it up for Kelsey. Because Hollywood Brown is a dude that can stretch the field. And he's a better route runner than Xavier Worthy.
Yeah, true.
And so I think this could be a game changer. It's another weapon for a dude that's already managing to win every game except one with a debilitated offensive roster.
Yeah, I don't like this at all. I don't like it at all. I just received
Number 3.
word about a topic for Jerickson Profar.
A word about a topic?
Yeah, someone told... Sorry, that wasn't English. Someone told me that Jerickson Profar is reportedly seeking a 3-year deal, so I wanted to go and make sure this was correct, and it is being reported by MLB
trade
rumors that he's looking for a 3-year deal. We will read this and get right to it ASAP, but...
Gotta finish our big five first.
I know. I'm all over the place today.
Come on, man.
Let's go to this one. The Golden State Warriors, New York Knicks, and Los Angeles Lakers are the league's most valuable franchises by a wide margin in the NBA. Sportico announced its annual assessment yesterday. The Warriors are worth $9.14 billion. The Yankees. The Knicks, $8.3 billion, and the Lakers, $8.07 billion. Golden State is considered the second most valuable franchise in U.S. sports, trailing only the Cowboys, who are worth $10.3 billion. The assessment include ownership's real estate and team-related businesses such as WNBA franchises. The average NBA team is worth $4.6 billion, which is a 15% rise over last year and nearly twice from 4 years ago. So, Tony, you're up first. Does it surprise you about the Warriors being the second most valuable team in the country?
It doesn't surprise me about any of these teams. Did you listen to that value that it gained in like 2 years?
Yeah, twice.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh, 15% over last year, nearly twice from 4 years ago.
That's crazy.
And the ratings are going down.
Again. And you know, I thought Adam Silver made this point. He said, interest is not down, but the ratings are. And I, as a, relatively new to this industry, I'm not sure how that exactly works. Interest still, maybe that's by ticket sales that you have people coming into the arenas, but
merchandise, all that stuff.
I think ultimately, I'm not surprised. It just seems like all these franchises in every sport. We're talking even women's. It seems like all of these are just becoming worth more and more and more.
It's true.
It's all predicated on, a lot of it, yes, merchandise sells, but these TV deals make these teams' value continue to go up. That's why this next one's going to be interesting for NBA. This next one's going to be interesting for MLB.
And owners also, like they said, they do real estate. They included real estate. That's one of the things the owners want. They want that land.
That's where, 100%.
Oh, they want that land. It's like McDonald's. We're not in the burger business. We're in the real estate business.
Indeed.
All right, let's get to this Profar thing real quick.
Number 2.
Because I read it, and it was a very short blurb. Jeff Passan wrote it this morning, so, it's coming from a decent source here. JP. He was writing about Teoscar Hernandez, Anthony Santander. Is it Santander or Santander?
Santander.
They're looking for 3-year deals. So is Jerickson Profar. He's coming off of a season in which he hit 280.
Profar and Hernandez are looking for 3-year deals. Santander is looking for a 5-year deal.
Let's go back to Jerickson Profar.
Yes, of course.
3-year deal. Do you make that deal?
At what number?
See, that's the thing. We don't know.
I'm willing to give.
What's your
3
max?
years.
What's your max?
I don't know. I'd say somewhere between 45 and 48. He's gonna. I think he's gonna get somewhere. The number was 9 his last free agency. He's got to be worth what 15.
I mean, he definitely is probably gonna get a raise, but maybe
15.
Maybe I don't know what goes into negotiations, but I would think that his knee and his injury history is kind of
what injury history.
Well, last year he had some knee issues.
Did he miss any time?
No, but we do. It seemed like it slowed him down a little bit.
Did he not have the best year of his career?
He did, but not the end of the year.
I'd say the last into the postseason, he swung the bat pretty good.
He did. I'm just worried about giving.
Or I should say, last month of the season, he swung the bat good before the postseason. I don't know. I think his number is somewhere between 13 and 16.
That's fair.
If a 3-year deal, you add it up. That's 39 to 45.
You're going to have a fan mutiny if you don't bring back Jurickson Profar, Padres. You just... And they need a left fielder, and they're not going to sign Teoscar Hernandez. As much as I want that to happen,
you
it's
only
not
get
going
a
to happen.
mutiny if you don't sign him, and then the team is not playing up to standard.
And we got Matt Scraby in left field.
We won't have Matt Scraby in left field.
I would be a good left fielder.
No, you wouldn't.
I would be a great left fielder. I would rob that thing like Mookie, like Jurickson.
Just by the
Mookie.
simple way you're talking about it right now, I know you would.
I would rob that thing.
Number 1.
All right. The NFL is adding a game show and a punting contest to its Pro Bowl skills competitions in February. They announced a full list of challenges, which brings back fan favorites tug-of-war and dodgeball. The games will take place at Central Florida. They can't even go to a real place anymore. And finish with a 7-on-7 flag football game between the AFC and NFC. New this year, Helmet Harmony, a game show that will test players' knowledge of their teammates. And Punt Perfect.
Helmet Harmony.
Punt Perfect. That features one punter and one non-punter. The 2 players from each conference will punt from the 35-yard line, aiming to land as many balls as possible into 6 buckets positioned in the end zone. My original question was, is the NFL's ego in the way of canceling the Pro Bowl? Answer's yes. They want to make money off this thing, and they keep embarrassing themselves even more.
It may be. It's the same issue as it is in basketball, right? In basketball, they don't have issues. At least in football, I understand them not wanting to go to a Pro Bowl and play hard like it's a regular game.
Yeah,
I get that.
They're already risking their careers as it is.
And once the players became hip to that, I think there is no coming back for the Pro Bowl.
Just cancel it.
Might as well.
They're not going to, though.
They're not
even going to a pro stadium anymore. They're going to Central Florida.
Well, to be fair, they used to play it in Hawaii, and I think that stadium is not equipped to deal with...
Oh, no, they don't. I don't even think it's there anymore.
Yeah, I don't think they could do it there no more.
Well, they did it in Vegas. They could try to do it.
Right, they could do it in Vegas, for sure.
But the answer is yes, the NFL's ego is getting in the way of them.
I don't know if it's an ego, but there's no coming back for this. Yes. All right, let's get to break. On the other side, 4 o'clock hour.
Mark Ziegler
when we return. 4:01 on the clock. Tony Gwynn Jr., Matt Scravey, Chris Ello at Viejas. We got a score for the Lady Aztecs right now.
I did go that route, and then I forgot to finish the job.
Man, your ADD is kicking today. It is
Tony,
on one.
we're 2 days away from vacation. I don't know if any. I mean, I love my job, but it's gonna be so nice to have some time off.
Yeah, no, I think no one is disagreeing with you on that part.
The Lady Jacks are winning 18-14 in the first quarter.
So early into the first quarter, Lady Jacks ahead of the Aztecs by 18-14. Mark Ziegler will join us here shortly to talk a little bit of the men's side of things.
And also SDFC.
And that's right. He also is my man Zieg is a soccer guy. Loves himself some soccer. So we'll talk a little bit about San Diego FC as well as they've started kind of their rollout. The season's not far away from us, but joining us right now on Gwyn and Chris is none other than Mark Ziegler. Mark, how are you?
I'm doing okay. Enjoying our San Diego December weather.
Isn't it great?
While the rest of the country shivers.
It is always interesting to get to this type of month and have this type of weather, and occasionally it'll just kind of hit you like, this is crazy that we're at 80 degrees on December 19th. And as you said, the rest of the country is struggling with terrible, terrible weather. The Aztecs back in action here in a couple of days. They'll take on Cal in this kind of tournament. What have the Aztecs been doing with their time off right now?
Well, what they do, they have this break every year for finals. It's kind of a university mandated thing. They don't want them playing games during finals week if they can avoid it. And I think the coaches kind of welcome it now because, it throws like this weird break in the middle of your season. You're used to getting in a rhythm of playing games a couple times a week, and you have 10 days you don't play. But I think they use the time pretty judiciously. The first thing they do is all the coaches go through and they self-scout them, all the games they played so far, and go through all the tape and look at their own tendencies and look at what they're good at, what they're not good at, and then kind of come up with a practice plan for the next few days where they don't focus on an opponent at all. They just focus on themselves. Okay, we need to get better at this. We need to clean this up. This fundamental needs to sort of be emphasized. And then, they took yesterday off, and now they're back into focusing on an opponent. So today and tomorrow they'll focus on Cal. They'll play on Cal on Saturday. So, but just from what I've seen in practice, they look a little bit more efficient. They look cleaner. They look a little bit rested, a little bit more energetic. It allows them to heal. They had 6 games in 16 days, and that was a little rough on the body. So I think it's good for them. We'll see if there's any rust at all. But otherwise, I think they should be sort of a well-oiled machine when we get to Saturday.
Talking to Mark Ziegler of the San Diego Union Tribune about the Aztecs, and also we'll get into some MLS. But did you expect the younger players on this team to come out and play so well so early? Farrell Compton has won Freshman of the Week a few times. Miles Bird is playing really well. Did you think this was going to be the case?
I thought they would take longer. I thought we would start seeing these kind of performances and a little bit more, this kind of consistency as we got toward the end of January, in the middle of the season. And so I think it was surprising that they put it together, particularly against an opponent like Houston that early in the year. But it's funny because you look at the team, okay, they beat Creighton, they beat Houston, they had this, pretty good start. They've beaten all the teams they were supposed to beat. But you kind of forget they're still a young team. And so you see like what happened against Cal Baptist, where they're up 19, they're playing really well, and they have a bad 6-7 minutes, and they win by 6, and it crushes them in the metrics. And those are little kind of like young team mistakes, little loss of focus there. And you have to remember it's still a really young team. And they're going to be prone to ups and downs. And it just because they haven't had them doesn't mean they won't have them. And, in practice, there's some days they're just turning the ball over and you're just like, well, yeah, they're a young team. They look like a young team today. Yeah. And so they're still not quite there where we're so used to seeing that grizzled veteran Aztec team that just is very steady. I don't think they're quite there yet.
Mark Ziegler joins us here, Union Tribune. And Mark, has there been any update on Reese Waters? It feels like it's been a little bit of time since he's been out. Where is he at in terms of his progress and perhaps getting, a chance to get back on the court?
Well, I'm hoping to get one here actually in the next half hour or so.
Okay.
And I think he was supposed to have a scan, and they were hopeful that he'll be cleared in the scan and be able to start rehabbing. But people got to remember, he's been in this boot for almost 2 months or 7-8 weeks, and you're not gonna just all of a sudden take off that boot and step on the court and play. That's going to be a minimum 3 weeks from what I understand, and maybe 4 or 5 to get into game shape. So I mean, right now I think the earliest we'd see him is the second week of January maybe, and it could be later. And I think the later it goes, you start to think, is it really worth it trying to play this season? Do you want to try to get that year back and play next year? Or are you just done with school and done with college basketball, and whatever you can play this year, you're going to play? I think those are decisions that will come once he gets a final clearance from the doctors and then sees how long it takes him to get back in shape. So I think we're a ways from a final decision.
Talking to Mark Ziegler, San Diego Union Tribune, about the Aztecs, and we've been following one team in particular, and it's Creighton, because the Aztecs beat Creighton. Creighton go and beat Kansas, but Creighton's lost a few times. So what I'm asking is, how do I evaluate a team like Creighton? Are they good? Is it good for the Aztecs that they beat them, or are they just kind of showing that they're just another team?
And it's funny because right after they beat Creighton, I wrote something about look, this is the team that you're going to have to root for because it's really going to help their resume. And, and then they went out and beat Houston. So they still have that. That was the key of the Houston win, is they've got that Houston win. And Houston's such a steady program that they're going to be good. They're going to win a lot of games. They're going to compete in the Big 12 or win the Big 12. They're going to be a top 5, top 4, the last few years they've been a number 1 seed. They're going to be a high seed in the NCAA tournament. So that wins there, but it's nice to have a second one. And the Creighton one is, like you said, I don't know what to make of Creighton. They beat Kansas. They got, killed by Georgetown, who's not that good, last night, and their metrics aren't very good. And, the good thing about Creighton is they're going to have lots of opportunities in the Big East. They're going to play UConn a couple times. They're going to play Marquette. They're going to play St. John's. Butler, Xavier, all those teams are really good. But they've got to start winning some of those games. And right now, they're not an NCAA tournament team, I don't think. But they're going to be one of those teams that they're going to get in the room in March, and they're going to look at their metrics and go, and they're going to look at their record and go, they're going to well, who did they beat? Ooh, wow, they beat Kansas. Oh, they won this game. They won that game. And so they're going to be one of those real conversation pieces, and we'll see where they end up. But in terms of the Aztecs, you got to root for them every time they take the floor.
Mark Ziegler joins us, Union Tribune. And Mark, one of the things that you and I have in common outside of basketball is we both also enjoy soccer. You have been covering the San Diego FC that is getting ready to kick off their season. For those who may not be in the know, there was a super draft held not that long ago in which the San Diego FC had the number 1 pick. And now we've learned about their full schedule. They're still making some signings. Just talk to us a little bit about San Diego FC and what they've got going a little bit.
Well, actually, the Super Draft is tomorrow. That's tomorrow afternoon. The expansion draft, it's so confusing. There was an expansion draft last week where they could pick up to 5 players off of other rosters. They picked 3 and traded 2 guys. They can make trades to get players. There's what they call a re-entry process, which is a really unique thing in professional sports in the United States, where players who maybe a club had a club option on a player but decide not to exercise it, they're kind of free agents, but they're kind of not. Those players come in the re-entry process. There's 2 stages of that. They just went through that. Then there's regular free agency. They just signed a free agent. And then there's the outside players who are from, other countries who have never been in the MLS, and they can sign them. Tomorrow is basically the college draft, and they have the number 1 pick and the number 9 overall pick. What's different between the college drafts in Major League Soccer and the NBA or NFL is that, the top few picks, as good as they are, probably aren't going to be impact players in your league. It's very rare that one of these guys is an impact player. And in fact, probably about half the first round picks won't even play for the club. They're just going to be squad players. And so it'll be interesting to see if they get a good young player, and you got to wait a couple of years to see if they develop. but they're still, they're up to 14 players that they've announced publicly. I think they have 2 more they're finalizing contracts on. And they've still got another, 10 players to get, and they've got to do it by January 6th. So they're going to be busy the next couple of weeks.
Mark, last one for me. One of the things the San Diego Wave did in their first year, and I don't know exactly how it worked, but they ended up with a terrific team in year one, and that created a lot of buzz as they went on to win a bunch of games. Will we be looking at a similar thing for San Diego FC? And is it possible to be able to kind of start the same way that San Diego Wave team started?
Years ago, when you always think of expansion teams, you're like, oh, those teams are terrible for about 5 years. And when you look back in the NBA and NHL and NFL, the history of these teams, and it's kind of changed in recent years because you look at what the Las Vegas Golden Knights did.
Yeah.
They were able to compete for a Stanley Cup in their first year, and I just think the way the expansion teams are set up in terms of the expansion drafts, fewer players are protected. You can get better players off of that. The free agency opportunities, just starting clean. You don't have any dead weight in your salary cap. I think there's a lot of advantages there. And in MLS, you've had some teams in their first year do really, really well.
Yeah.
You've also had some teams that didn't do that well. So you don't know. But to answer your question, is there a chance? Yes. And in previous iterations of expansion in other leagues, you would say absolutely not. But there is a chance they could be pretty good. And so far, I think they've made some really good moves. It's just hard to really tell until they have all 26 players. And also, as their general manager pointed out to me, he goes, it's not like you're bringing in 2 or 3 players and you just got to get them to settle in and meld with everybody else. It's 26 new players who've got to move to a new market and settle. You just don't know what's going to happen.
Well, certainly a lot of interest in San Diego FC as we get closer and closer to season. Certainly a lot of interest in the Aztecs men's basketball team. As always, Mark, appreciate you coming on and spending some time with us.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'll talk to you guys.
Mark Ziegler, San Diego Union Tribune, breaking down San Diego FC and kind of breaking down what the Aztecs have been doing over the last week. They'll take on Cal on Saturday at up in San Jose. So,
that's right.
Yeah, I was about to say Viejas, but it's not.
It's not. I remember you guys were complaining.
It would have been nice to be able to watch the squad play, but that's all right. I'm going to get out to see them at some other time. All right, let's get to break on the other side. More Gwyn and Chris. Here's some traffic.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly.
This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings. B-Dubs is football. Head to your local Buffalo Wild Wings and try their new maple chipotle sauce for rich maple sweetness and a mild smoky chipotle heat. Or for a bit of kick, check out the new Cajun sauce for a rich blend of spicy and tangy pepper sauce. Stop by your San Diego B-Dubs or order now for takeout and delivery with Buffalo Wild Wings Go. Matt Scraby, Tony Gwynn Jr. here in the Honesty Palace, leading you up to this Broncos and Chargers Thursday night football game that will start at 4:30. Chris Ella will be back in tomorrow. Currently, he is calling the game between San Diego State women and Stephen F. Austin women. 1:12 left in the second quarter. Stephen F. Austin up by 2. So they've made a little bit of a comeback, Tony.
Indeed.
They have
10-1, trying to go to 11-1.
The players that we had in studio the other day, Nat Martinez and Naomi Panganaban.
Nice.
Thank you.
Got
I've been practicing. I wanted to make sure I did it right. Nat Martinez, up until just a few seconds ago, was the leading scorer in the game. But, yeah, they're... Oh, I thought it changed, but didn't. So
She's
they're
still
down
the
2.
lead.
Yeah,
She's
they're
still the
down
lead.
2. I wanted to ask you this, though, before we get out of here, because we were talking about Sammy Sosa apologizing for... No one really knows what he was apologizing for because he didn't say. But your dad played right in the middle of the steroid era. Like, right in the middle of it. And your dad didn't do steroids. So how did your dad... I'm curious, how did he navigate that world of being a Major League Baseball player and not taking the easy way out, I guess?
I think that's ultimately... a content with the abilities you have or a lack of fear of what it means that everybody else is using. I you know, what's funny is I remember, mind you, my dad in our household was the only one playing professional baseball. So everybody else is, just normal. So my mom's brothers who watched my dad all the time and grew up around my dad because obviously my mom and dad had been dating since high school. So, her brothers were basically his brothers, right? And so I remember one of my uncles, Clarence, asking my dad, like, because he's noticing everything else everybody else is noticing, like, T, you think these guys are using steroids? That's what he said. And my dad said, hell yeah, I think they're using steroids. But ultimately, it doesn't matter to me. I mean, it's not. I think it was an obvious thing for guys around the league who may not have been indulging in that. And, it was just like, it is what it is. I think that's how all those guys, remember, it didn't come to light because players were complaining about it that weren't. It came to light because the media did what it was supposed to do. It uncovered it. Some things happened that allowed them to uncover it, but... Nonetheless, I mean, that's just how it was. I don't think there was a lot of... There might have been complaining amongst each other, but there wasn't a lot of it. I think you just went out and competed and saw where the chips fell.
I mean, I didn't expect any other answer, but that's interesting because I think a lot of people would go straight towards, I got to do it too if I got to keep up.
There were a lot of people. Listen, I had teammates that said, you know what? It's worth it. It's worth the risk, ultimately.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, but think about it.
Because steroids don't just make you stronger. They do a lot of bad things to your body, too.
And listen, we didn't, at that point,
no one knew.
They didn't know all of the effects. I mean, they knew of my man for the Raiders who used a whole bunch
Bill
of...
Romanowski?
No, not Bill Roman. The one who passed before Bill Romanowski. It was like the first big-time steroid user that...
I'll have to think about that. I don't know.
It'll come to me. We'll have to have it by tomorrow. But nonetheless, I forgot my point. What was I talking about?
Steroids. People were willing to do it.
Yeah, people. I mean, think about it. I mean, even for a guy like Sammy Sosa, he made a ton of money. He can take care of his family, do whatever he wants to do, pretty much for the rest of his life. Now, there are things that maybe he didn't recognize as an unintended consequence to these actions that he has. I think that goes for a lot of people.
Lyle Alzado.
Alzado.
Man, you guys are good on the chat because I've never heard that name. I don't think.
I mean, we know a lot more about the supplements and steroids in that case that are out there. But yeah, man, I think that was just kind of part of. Guys were very much aware of what was going on.
How much Do you think steroids is a part of today's professional sports?
I think very little.
Because you know that there's guys that will find the way around.
There's always going to be
the
guys
tests
who
and all that.
Not find a way or are just ahead of the science.
That's
there's
also
always
true.
That's how the whole thing got popping with Balco, right? They were ahead of where Major League Baseball was. It was undetectable.
I remember that movie, The Program.
Oh,
I keep
great
bringing, that's
movie.
the second time I've brought up this movie
Great
this week.
movie.
But when the big old strong defensive lineman has to do the urine test, and he
had to stop taking it, and he got
Yeah.
he got
And-
trucked at the goal line.
Yeah, he did. He got ran over at the goal line. When most of the time he's able to push the guy back. This time he got pushed into the end zone. He's like, I can't not
do
do
that
steroids.
again.
I have to do my steroids now. He was kind of a crazy person.
It's a
as
great
well.
flick, by the way.
I need to watch that over the break, which Small Soldiers is going on my list for Chris, by the way.
I definitely thought after watching that movie when I got to college there would be running backs walking around with footballs, that the whole time the team would be trying to punch out, and there would just be like a big fracas everywhere they went.
Omar Epps just walking around campus with people punching out the ball. I mean, that movie probably was pretty spot on for a college program in the 90s.
It felt the same way Major League felt for Major League Baseball.
Just spot on.
It felt perfect.
That is hilarious. All right, well, we're coming up on the end of the show. Broncos and Chargers tonight. Hayden Hurst, tight end. Not a big deal, but he's being activated by the Chargers tonight. So
great for Hayden. I'm glad he gets to play.
Yeah. If you have fantasy football players going tonight, hopefully you're able to make it past your round.
This is playoff implications now for fantasy.
We're mostly in semifinals. I know there's a few leagues that are in their first round of the playoffs, which if I can encourage people one thing, it's to try and get your playoffs. Your final does not need to be in week 18.
You don't like the 2-week playoff games?
No. I don't like games that or seasons that go into week 18 because week 18 is the week where
a lot of that's
Lamar
because
Jackson can sit out.
A lot of that's because they have 2-week playoff games. So like, it's
I know.
Not just the first week.
No, I get it, and that really does produce a winner because then you have to have the better team.
Yeah.
But I'm not in the playoffs in our league, so
neither am I.
Chris is. Everybody hope for Chris to lose.
We'll see you guys tomorrow, full 4 hours. Back at it again.
Extravaganza, 6 a.m. Ben and Woods. Tune in, everybody.
Enjoy your night.